Hello and welcome to another episode of Building the Industrial Zone in Rockdale. Now, this is exactly where we left off last time. As you can see, I was building some decorations, basically populating this is the first lower industrial quadrant in the entire area, populating it with some details like trees in here, parking lots mostly, exactly the same thing like last time. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to continue with this, as well as making some changes to the train stations, especially the train station that we could have seen in that previous shot, the one that goes to the downtown area and collects traffic from both the first, lower, and upper quadrants. Now, I'm going to show you just in a few seconds, I guess, the problems that I encountered with that station and why it had to be slightly changed. And we are then going to do the very similar change, actually, to the downtown station, or the station that sends trains to the downtown, even for the second lower quadrant. Alright, so we're going to be doing that. This is actually the second to last video of this, of the builds. But then, as I already announced, this sub-series is then going to end with a live video, a video with a live footage where I'm going to in detail explain all the roads or the connections and how the zone works. Because, as I was saying in some of the previous videos, it's not exactly easy to explain every road, where it goes, what's its purpose. So this is only some kind of a report on how I build things, and then I'm going to explain it in detail how exactly it works. Anyway, while I was explaining this, I was just doing some decorations, repairing some details, pretty much. Nothing really all that important, I should say. In here I'm using some of the vanilla buildings as well. In this building in particular, looks like some kind of maybe a power plant or like a heating plant or something like that. Looks nice. It's like a tiny detail that you can use for these bigger Miyagi Motors factory buildings. Obviously using surface painter as well. You're gonna see that a lot today. Parking lots, surface painter, and trees. That's pretty much the only decoration that I do. I'm not really detailing the area too much, as you can see. I'm not really doing like storage spaces or something like that. I'm actually going to use even some containers, but not that much, only a few times. Anyway, in here we are back in the first upper quadrant, and we are doing this probably the biggest like a factory, yeah. Biggest factory in this area. And in here, this is the first time when I noticed the problems. As you can see, traffic jam. The station going downtown is just not having enough capacity. In here, I tried to make like a bypass exit from the zone. Basically, the idea behind this road is that the main highway connection is on the other side of the zone. So I tried to make some kind of like an exit road from the zone that traffic might use. And it actually did help. It took some pressure off this station because some traffic just decided that it's going to be shorter to use that newly built highway bypass. But mostly it stayed. The traffic actually stayed. You can see it in here. At this point in the live stream, I was not exactly sure if I really want to do those changes to this train station, so I continued with some decorations pretty much. But this will all have to go away, sadly. It's kind of the important thing in city skylines, in my opinion. If you encounter like problems with traffic, for example, problems that are obviously going to be solved only by completely changing the area, then you probably need to do it. Just like I'm doing right now. Destroying all of this, destroying the station. Well, not just yet, but I'm just trying to do a kind of a test fit for the new station. Basically what I'm going to do here is to make a separate station going downtown for the first upper quadrant and separate station for the first lower quadrant, so 2 stations. Preparing the place, I'm gonna have to move the station that I built, that I already had in this place, and I'm gonna have to move it closer to this highway area, which means I'm gonna have to slightly change the order of the individual ramps on in this place, because since the highway area, the ramps are kind of going very, very high, but now the station is closer to the area, it means that the connecting ramps would be really steep. So I had to move them slightly down. That's exactly what I did. I'm repairing this this kind of a splitting point, as you can see. Trying to make it nice, doing some terrain changes. I'm definitely going to go back to this place after I know that it's going to work, There's really no point in trying to detail, or not detail, but there's no point in trying to make the area look nice before you can actually see if it works, right? In here I'm trying to create some kind of a slightly realistic train junction switch. Not sure what it's called. It's probably not the best idea to actually connect more than just 2 railroads into one node in the game. It doesn't really look realistic. It's not exactly how it's done in real life. Now, in here I'm making the upper road that was going from the first lower quadrant. I'm making it go basically over this station and then down towards the station that I built. This one, the one on the right side right now on the screen. And then I'm connecting it together. But as you can see, doing those lane connections, some of those lane connections actually crossed each other. Now that means that traffic is not going to be actually all that ideal. You can see that right here. Traffic is acting quite weirdly. Also a flying car there, just noticed that. Anyway, I decided to do a slight change. I'm actually going to change the order of the stations so that the station on the right is now going to be for the upper quadrant, and the one, exactly the other way around. The station on the right was for the lower quadrant and the one on the left for the upper one, right? Anyway, that worked. It completely solved the issue. It completely separated the traffic incoming to one of the stations, or it completely separated the incoming traffic for the 2 stations, yeah. So that solved it, but obviously at the expense of building 2 stations. Now in here I'm making some kind of a pedestrian connection between the first upper quadrant and the tram station, because there wasn't really any way for workers to efficiently go towards the factories in the first upper quadrant. I was kind of considering maybe making a bus line that would go pretty much through the entire zone, connecting the more remote places in the zone. But then I decided against it because I would have to kind of loop it around or make some kind of separate road connections for the bus, so I didn't do it. In here I'm just tidying up, making some necessary details basically in places where I had to do them. Making this retaining wall, trying to make it look nice. And then just doing more decoration, just filling up the place. I decided that I no longer really want to save space too much. I decided that I don't want to maximize the space in the zone by using factories all the time. So you will see me fill some places with trees a lot more than I did before. Well, especially compared to the old zone where all the spaces, or at least the bigger areas, I definitely tried to fill with buildings that actually work, so, industrial buildings. But in here I'm doing a lot more decorations. So places that don't do anything. Also, I'm trying to kind of break the very ordinary shape of everything. Like, you can see that the factory, the Miyagi Motors factory buildings are, well, I can't really say boring, but if you place like a huge factory floor, then it might be a bit, monotonous. Yeah, that's probably the word that I'm looking for. So breaking it up a bit by using different shapes of these buildings, or just doing some of those, the arched, no wait, not arched, but the white roof, the Miyagi Motor building with the white roof. That's definitely going to help to do, or at least create some kind of a impression of doing something different, And again, a lot of trees. I'm trying to not build trees that close to the factories. The oak trees, like I said in the previous video, they look very nice, especially because of those autumn colors they do. Anyway, in here we had that other station going to the downtown. Now, that station, just like this Miyagi Motor station that I tried to place in here instead of it, they have one problem, one really big problem. And that's the fact that incoming traffic has to cross the outgoing traffic. That's a problem. So I decided that I want to put that station on the other side of the track, which means that now the incoming and outgoing traffic are going to be separated, just because the station is going to be, mirrored, mirrored across the track, kind of. But the traffic is going to come from the same direction, which means it's going to go to the correct side of the station, just like the outgoing traffic is going to leave and won't have to cross the incoming traffic. That obviously means that I completely need to change the road network, the collecting roads, collecting the traffic to the station. I don't think it would make any sense if I really tried to explain everything that's going on at the screen right now. In the screen? Sorry, I don't know. So the only important bit in here is that I'm just trying to simplify things a lot. I'm trying to save a lot of space in the second upper quadrant by basically making everything as close as possible, the roads, I mean. So as you can see, I'm trying to save a lot of space by just moving everything, closer together. Also, why I'm not really trying to do that much precise commentary for this is that, again, trial and error. I was building things very slowly in here on the live stream. This actually is like a footage cut from pretty much like 2 hours of streaming. And yeah, as I said, a lot of trial and error, a lot of things were changed, rebuilt, destroyed, stuff like that. This intersection in particular is actually very important. If you remember correctly, I said in some of my, maybe actually it was the first video, that I really don't want to have the highways highly placed. And there is a highway that was going over the elevated railroad in here. I didn't exactly like it. I think I even said that I don't exactly like it. So I'm going to build this little connection, this kind of a loop in here. That's actually going to serve instead of that highway going over the railroad, which means I will have to, again, do a lot of changes in here. Basically destroying all of this, what I just built, replacing it with something slightly more interesting, some kind of elevated collector road that I had there before. Also changing the tram road, accidentally destroying some of the roads underneath it, unfortunately. Anyway, this is actually something that I now kind of like. I think that in some of my previous videos, I actually did say that some decisions that I made in this particular area I didn't exactly like. Now it's much better. And the zone actually is a bit more, well, efficient. Maybe, yeah, actually, yeah, efficient as well. Alright, so as you can see in here, right next to the railroad, we have this elevated highway, which is basically acting as a collector road for the station going across the river, which is the Miyagi Motor Station that we were building some time ago. And this highway, the one on the surface, it's going to go the opposite direction, and it's going to basically connect to the main highway network and then the station around the station that we built a few moments ago, the one on the other side of the tracks. This is going to be the return path from it. And in here I'm just trying to make everything look nice. That merging point, make it look nice. Unfortunately, I had to destroy completely that very nice interchange area, you may call it, that I built in the previous video, I think. But that's just how it is. And this is like generally my advice to people who, build something in city skylines. It doesn't exactly work, and they are afraid of, destroying it because it took them a long time. Don't be afraid of that. Like, if you build something, don't like it, change it. Simple as that. Sure, took you a long time to build it, but it doesn't really matter. The game is about building, so why not build correctly? Or why not build, even more? Something like that. Anyway. This area actually took me quite a long time. Again, footage is heavily edited. In here I'm making sure that traffic cannot change lanes in here. So completely separating traffic going from the second quadrants, upper and lower. Unfortunately, I encountered some issues again. Traffic jam in front of the newly built station going downtown. That's quite weird. I was not exactly sure why that happened, but I made this like a bypass again, making basically that railroad, making that highway connection go both ways so that some people can go to the bypass bridge that we built. Anyway, I discovered that we had those issues because this Miyagi Motor Station was not accepting any traffic. It was broken basically, so I rebuilt it. And it actually moved all the problems to this station instead, for some reason. Well, not all the problems. The traffic jam in here was not that severe. Sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. It just arrived in waves and then it went away. So I decided that I actually want to keep that because it was not that much of a problem, to be honest. In here, like I said in the previous video, I'm filling up the place with some more office buildings because I didn't really want to put more industrial buildings, exactly because of that problems with the train station, because I thought that I probably reached some kind of a limit for the number of industrial buildings in this area, and the train stations just won't be able to accept any more traffic than this. So I did that. As you can see in some of the footages, some of the shots in here, the traffic jam to the Miyagi Motors station is going to be really bad, and sometimes there's no traffic jam at all. So that only proves what I said. It just comes and goes in waves. So nothing to worry about too much. I decided then that I just want to fill up the place, placing some containers, and this is actually going to be quite funny. I placed a container right like that, and look at that. The vans, and not the trucks, not the long trucks, but only the vans want to go to the containers instead of the station. You see that? For some reason they are despawning right next to the containers instead of going to the station like they should. I even placed the container pack slightly further away, and they are still going to the container packs. Anyway, that's kind of a funny part at the end of this video. We are coming to the 20-minute mark, So I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching and take care.